Hi, welcome to Once Upon a Stitch Nook and my desk where the creativity happens. We are going to be going over the Game of Wool, episode 4, but just a little note because I am finally back to doing my knit project, which is my free ring cardigan, because this is literally all I had left. And I was panicking because I was so worried I wasn't going to have enough in time. I wanted her done by the time the next season comes out. And amazingly, hobby, I got the yarn in time, so I got fresh yarn to finish up the sleeves and anything else I might need for this. So I'm excited about that, and I can finally finish these off. And I'm not, that far from finishing. So anyway, I am going to finish these little bits off and then join in some fresh yarn. So I'm excited about that. And I got some of my morning coffee with me, and I have some thoughts. So let's get into it. And it is a little gray and it has been raining off and on this morning. So if you hear any thunder in the background, that is why. So yes, Game of Wool episode 4. And I have to say, I had a screaming thought at the beginning of this episode. Dee and Sheila required crochet only again, but not only crochet only, with advanced stitch work expected for these kids' fancy costumes, which is the solo challenge to create a 3-piece, a body piece, and then about 2 accessories, like a hat piece and then something else for child's wear that would endure rough and tumble and had to be imaginative, had to have a wow factor. And specifically, they wanted advanced, particularly, oh, what was the exact wording? I wrote it down. They said, quote, they wanted the best possible choices of crochet stitches. By now, we really expect to see a range of stitches used. In crochet, I understand if they expect a range of stitches in knitting because you are going to be deemed the best knitter, or the end person is going to be classified as the winning knitter. But in this case, they want you to be advanced in crochet. I was giving some slack and I was talking myself out of it, that I can accept that they wanted to utilize crochet in this format, um, to extend the challenges, and that knitting had certain limitations and how much could be done in a short amount of time. I understood the idea of wanting to combine it. I mostly had issue with them using improper framing, and at this point, I'm considering it deceitful framing for both us and the contestants. Why I say that is because from what I've heard from others and seen online, some people who actually went through the process, yes, they did require that you could knit and crochet under a time limit. So the contestants, again, I don't know if they knew that kind of going in, that they were going to have to crochet. I think they did. I think they knew to a degree that they were going to have to do both. But the challenges weren't extra detailed, and so you don't know the range. You don't know that they are all, you didn't ensure that they were all going to be proficient and advanced in both knitting and crochet. So I understand if you wanted them to have some basics of crochet in order to basically execute the challenges. Less again about it being that they are the best knitters. It's more the factor that I think some choices on behalf of the design team that they decided we need to add crochet. So let's make sure that they can crochet. But I find it incredibly unfair at this point that they are requiring that it should be advanced crochet. And as they were talking about it, I could see Simon panicking and also I think looking a little frustrated, because I do think this is not basically what was promised or expected for them. They are on a show to be the best knitter, and they understood that there was going to be some crochet, okay? But if you are going to be basing and holding people onto the show, as in they don't get cast off because their crochet excels, someone could get through this entire show based on mainly their crochet skills, and at the end you call them the best knitter. That is awful, in my opinion. I know, um, I'm taking this a bit seriously now maybe too seriously for some. I was trying to do my best to accept it for what it was, and I thought, okay, they got a little mm, muggled with their formatting. I think there were conflicting ideas and maybe renditions, and that some stuff remained from an old concept, and I was accepting that. But this is, for me, me personally, a little unforgivable. So I really didn't like that, I have to say. My nostrils were flaring from that, and I found it incredibly unfair. I empathized with Simon um, as he was panicked and noted that, and he said, I don't have many crochet stitches in my arsenal. And he did have to rely on simpler stitches for his make. Thankfully, he did such a good job that my worries were dissipated a bit. I didn't think he was in as extreme danger as I thought. I was worried with his reaction that he thought, oh, and considering, I guess, as well, his past attempts at freehanding crochet, he struggles with adapting them. So I was wondering, okay, is he going to try to make some advanced crochet techniques? And he didn't too much. He really tried to utilize what he knew, and bravo to him for that. And I think that was a smart move. But just to say and get it out in the beginning again that I was frustrated with the use of crochet and the framing of crochet, and at this point it feels unfair. It feels unfair to us as the audience for what you presented and said and promised. It feels particularly unfair to your contestants. I do not think that this is really what they signed up and were expecting. I don't think they were able to know ahead many of the challenges, so they couldn't have known how hard it was going to get. And another person who really struggled this time and said she was feeling out for depth, due to struggling also with the crochet, was Dipti. Last time I said Dipsy, and because that's how it sounded to me from Tom, but then I did see how it was spelled, and someone corrected me in the comments in the last episode. Thank you. Her name's Dipti, Dipti. And anyway, so I was frustrated with that point, but it did ramp up some fun that I was able to enjoy the episode as we got into the challenges. Both challenges I did like the concept of last week, and now I was able to enjoy them as they unfolded. So let's go over that. So like I said, the challenge was to make kids costumes that were going to be durable and were very imaginative and using advanced crochet stitch work. The best choices of crochet stitches. And that being said, they had to do it in 12 hours. 12 hours for a body piece, for a hat, and then an accessory. And I thought that was really going to crunch things down. Amazingly, most people did really well. I would even say everyone did really well, considering that. So Lydia won, what are they called? She won the prize last week, and so she was going off of her children's suggestions, which was a lion, and she was using loop stitches. Now, I'll say, I think, considering that there was going to be a variety of stitches and either new crocheters or non-crocheters weren't going to be as familiar with them, and I think this also would have been a great one to have Jane Crow on. Someone also corrected me that it's Jane and they sometimes call her Janie. It's not Jenny. Crow on for this episode. I think I would have much preferred to see her on this one instead of Dee and Sheila critiquing the crochet and particularly wanting the advanced crochet stitches. I think this would have been a great point to bring in her to go over that. But c'est la vie. So Lydia and I was going to say, so considering people won't be as familiar with these stitches, I thought they should have used graphics somewhat like they did to explain crochet and knit when they showed like not necessarily graphic but also like a little GIF kind of video to explain what they were doing. But Tom just explains it um verbally, and we don't get to see a good explanation. Like, for example, Elliot used spike stitch, and I'm not at least familiar with that word. I think I have done the stitches he did, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. So that would have been helpful even to me, and I crochet quite a bit. So anyway, Lydia's was the lion. She used loop stitches to create these big loops for the fur, so around the mane and the tail. I think some on the cuffs and things. That was very well done, good choice. She was, well, I'll get that, well, okay, I'll get back to that in a moment. But I do have to say that her hat piece, like the line mane, just looked grand. Hers looked so good, like you could get it in a shop. It was very good work. Let me see. Now I want to go on to Holger, who I loved his concept. He has my heart so often with his choices and responses. He's such a great character, just so German in how he thinks and speaks. He had a fox toy when he was young, which he couldn't pronounce, and he called Futz in German, but I forget how it's a little different than fox, but um, point being, he couldn't pronounce it, and so that was very cute. And so it's a little fox with these like uh, one strap overalls, which is very cute. And he used a technique of brushing out the fur on like the side pieces for the headpiece to give that fluffy, those side cheek bits. That was really cool, and just count on Holger, who does tailoring, to create an amazing costume. It was flawless. He used a simple but very well-made overalls, and then the details in the hat, the tail, and then he like crocheted a button. I don't know if he crocheted around a button, that's something I've done, or if he crocheted a button and then sewed it on to hold. I don't know which it was, but the judges definitely liked his button detail. Going back to Lydia's, she was kind of docked for not doing that. They said, oh, it would have been nice if you had used, if you'd made crochet buttons instead of using regular real buttons for her piece. Um, which I felt was kind of a bit of a shame and not something I would have thought to dock her for. They thought the entire piece should have been crochet, and I don't know if I agree with that, but that was something that they noted, especially after Holger's piece. Next is Isaac, and he chose to do Explorer. I always enjoy Isaac's concepts. They're always kind of something I wouldn't pick and a little more boyish, I guess. And so it's kind of fun to see a boyish take on the craft. And again, since he used the spike stitch, I think it would have been great to have a visual of what that meant. They explained it and we saw kind of the end result, but we don't know exactly how that worked. And he used Intarsia, and he did a beautiful job with it. Because he was a little critiqued the first episode on his intarsia for the vest, which I forget why. I thought he did a nice job, but it was noted again in this episode. But he did a beautiful job in the crochet to create like a world globe for the explorer, and it had pockets. It had, and he used the spike stitch to create this like canvas woven texture. So that was kind of his detail. He had a little well-developed hat that had these, it looked very much like, I don't know what kind of hat it is, but looked very much like the kind of explorer hats you see for like you know, a bit on safari or things like that. Very cool. And then he had little binoculars, which of course kids are going to love. Excellent job. Now let's see. We already talked about Holger. Okay, let's get to Ditzy. She chose to do a crayon. And so she wanted to do like a tube body piece, a crayon head, and then an accessory as a crayon bag to hold your crayons. So cute concept all in all. Notably, she tried intarsia crochet for the first time on this challenge, which is difficult. I've kind of been getting a little bit into it. I don't really like intarsia on crochet, and I think it's partly because I'm not doing it correctly, especially if I have to do back and forth and I can't do it in the round. I do like doing it in the round, I will say that. I've made a lot of actually patterns and grids for hats with that method. I've made a video of how I do that, but when it's back and forth, I really lose myself and I don't think I know how to properly do it. So that she attempted that was very brave, and she wanted lettering, sorry, that would say crayon on the body. And that was the point where she was having most difficulty making sure it was clear, which I think it was clear enough, just a little rough. And she and I suggested her that she tidy it up. And so her method of doing that was using these long spreads of loops to try to outline it, which I would have gone in and just kind of wrapped some yarn in anywhere that kind of had gaping of the color, personally. But again, that would take maybe a little more time, and she was probably in a rush. So that she was struggling with that. And the end result of the body was that it was kind of loose and frumpy, a little oversized. So that was a shame. And so hers was kind of by far um, felt subpar to everyone else who felt really felt on like a professional level that is something I could have seen in a little boutique that someone had made to sell. It was a beautiful, well crafted, and so this was only one that felt like that had that handmade aspect to it. It wasn't bad, but just in comparison to everyone else, you could see the flaws to it, and the lettering ended up being a little rough. So I do feel bad, and that she attempted that as her first time. So again, she was trying to use some advanced crochet techniques. Isaac used intarsia as well, but his was far more cleanly executed. So that was unfortunate. Let's see, Tracy. Tracy did a B, and she also ran into a few hiccups, I will say. She used cluster. I don't know what they meant by cluster. I would have liked to see what they meant, but it made a raised effect for I think it was particularly the black stripes. So they were raised over to make the transition less dull between the stripes of yellow and black. So that was a cool take. And then she attempted to add wings by wrapping yarn around what I think she said were like hair curlers or something, maybe a wire through them to kind of give them that bulk and shape. But that provided, I could be wrong about that, the exact construction she did. But that did add weight, and then that means you would have needed something with more support to pull and hold that up. So they did kind of sag a little bit. It wouldn't have been too bad. All in all, I think kids would have enjoyed it, but presentation-wise, I understand why the judges had to note it. And it was something that they were kind of noting during the process. That was going to be the challenge to that. So yeah, that's kind of the notes on Tracy. Oh yeah, and again, after Holger, she was noted that she added clear regular buttons instead of crocheting her buttons. So again, I'm not sure how much I agree with that nitpick, but it was a nitpick. She and I'm sorry, not she, Sheila and Di had. Then we get to Elsa, who did a zebra or a zebra. And I felt like they didn't spend too much time on her because she just did a well-executed job. No hiccups, no drama to her piece. Let me see. I'm getting myself confused here. I'm working two sleeves up at once. Okay, yes, I need to go back on this one, I think. Right? Yes. Elsa's. She did a zebra, and what I liked with her, she noted that the stripe method she was using, she had come across in a vintage cardigan pattern. So she was utilizing that method here to create the stripes, and it really takes a lot of forethought and planning to make sure your stripes, because they're doing these wave effects, so you're using higher stitches with lower stitches to make sure by the end it matches up evenly. So you kind of have to really plan that out a lot. So I have to say that had to take a lot of work, and I'm guessing a lot of the work was planned beforehand. So the actual, I cannot speak. Let me have a sip. The actual execution was probably her just being very focused on it. So yes, she did just careful planning. The execution was beautiful. And then she did these beautiful kind of realistic eyes. And when I say realistic, like the eyes you see on like stuffed animals that have the pupil and the little highlight. She did a beautiful job with that. I thought that was, oh, wow, and really made it very high quality. Then we get to Simon. I talked about him a little bit before, how he had to rely on simpler stitches. So he's, from what I understand, he used kind of granny stitches and double crochet, maybe treble crochet, for his piece, utilizing it, trying to make like a chainmail effect, which I think was a very smart way because the stitches themselves weren't advanced, but the way they were combined would make it look textured. So that was a smart move on his part. And this time he said he really planned for his headpiece, planned how to do construction because again, he was doing a helmet and that takes a lot of structure. So again, with his background in what was it, engineering, was it, or construction, one or the other. So sorry. I would think that he would try to utilize that more, especially in an area he's unfamiliar with, instead of winging it. So he learned from his mistakes, he planned, and he did a beautiful job. I've made a helmet before, and his was better than mine, so kudos to Simon. So I was just really impressed with how he came out, and he looked so nervous and stressed through the whole thing. He was so worried that it wasn't going to be good enough. And so he did get commended very well for it, and that they did see that he did improve. However, Sheila made the comment, um, there's more you could have done, I'm sure. As she was kind of pointing to the stitches, kind of stitch choices. Again, it could be the editing, but I did not like that comment. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm sure there's more you could do. He is not a crocheter, he is a knitter, and he's always struggled with the crochet parts. And so you've noted that he has improved and planned and done well with the crochet this time. And you expected a high level of crochet out of everyone for a contest that is not presented to be about crocheting. So again, that grinded my gears. My again, nostrils just flared up. I was not having it. But again, they did commend him overall and noted that he did improve. So that comment felt odd. I don't know if I'm lacking some context because of the editing. I am trying to, and I did appreciate that it seemed like they got a few more comments than one sentences this time for the judging. I did appreciate that because that was an issue I had before. Let me see. Did I already do this side? I did not. Onto this side. So that was Simon's. And often I will say, I don't know if it's the judging and partly just because, again, Sheila seems very classically a little primly British, that she'll just kind of make comments like, it's sometimes just one word and how she executes it. It's like, all right. It's like just a little. I'm trying to remember the examples because a few of them popped up here. They seem to pop up each time where she kind of just makes almost like one or two word comments that come off so rude and dismissive of what they're doing. And again, it can just be she's very British, and it can also be the editing that I'm lacking, that it's a final comment or something. So I will give her some grace there. So let's go on to the team challenge. Now, I also liked the idea of this challenge, and I just immediately liked it. I was looking forward to it, and I liked the idea of a wall hanging, and I was pleased to know that they could knit it. And then there was the extra challenge, which I didn't see coming. I thought was really fun. It really threw me. I was like, oh, whoa. At first, I was like, no way. And then I was like, actually, for a challenge, I like it. It's fun. And the team challenges can sometimes, I think, they allow it to be something quirky. It did remind me of the sofa challenge that you work in separate pieces and then have to bring it together. And the and the extra challenge was to that for the again they're making a um, wall hanging, and then each person has to do a separate bit, and how they decided it also was going to be like initially how it presented to me was how if you've ever seen like those dress up games where you start with the head and then the body and then such. So basically they were going to fold over paper, someone was going to draw something that they thought it should be, and then flip it over, the next person draws that, and so when you reveal it, there's like these connecting odd parts of different styles, different things, different creatures. um, and initially I was like, oh man, is that gonna be bad? But it actually turned out to be a really fun idea. At least personally, I thought so. I was questioning how were they gonna quite judge it. And in the end, I think fair enough. Now, an extra note to make is that it was going to be a child's wall hanging, and they wanted it to be interactive. They were going to have to, by the end, mount it to the rod to hang on the beams of the yarn barn. I think that covers everything. And so, oh, and of course, it had to have the wow factor. It had to be super imaginative, something that, would just spark joy in you. And then again, the interactive element should be fun, something to engage the child into. So, poor Holger, immediately as they were like constructing their piece, you could see he just, because it was just so bizarre. And again, I don't think anything he would want to do. As he revealed it, he's like, let's start over. And they're like, no, no, it's good, it's good. And I don't know if they're allowed to start over. So, but you can see he just doesn't always enjoy the team challenges when he loses control. I think he did well with Isaac. They worked well together because both kind of like to plan. And then we're on the same page of making a simpler design, I think, opposed to like when he was paired up with Tracy, um, that, went crazy. And so here we had Holger, Ditzy, Simon, and Lydia. And Ditzy chose to crochet instead of doing the knit because it would kind of work up faster. Did she say she was? I don't know if she said she was more familiar with crochet, which would be odd since she struggled so much with doing more advanced techniques. Maybe she's a simpler crocheter. I don't know. Um, I forget. I feel like we've either covered that. I don't know if I'm going to be using her maybe with Lydia, who is on the same team. Everyone else chose to knit their panels, and they did like this water creature. And they went heavy on trying to incorporate a lot of elements. They incorporated zippers. What were some of the other elements? Zippers were like the biggest ones, but I think they kind of had like these pockets. I think there were these like Velcro shorts, like knit or crochet shorts that I think it was crochet because I think Ditsy did them. You can take off and apply onto the body. I think there was a little jacket that had a similar element, but the colors were kind of all over the place, and there wasn't too much planning other than what they kind of threw into there, which I thought was interesting. I think Holger just like gave up trying to control the group, and since they had four people while the other team had three, there was just a lot of opinions and I guess ideas and things to get through that they felt like we gotta go, we gotta get moving. Um, so it was kind of chaotic and ambitious. Tom, as he was like checking in with them, you could see he was like, ah, you're doing that. Oh, okay. So that's what you're doing, huh? It's like, oh, wow. And you could just see he was like, I'm not sure how this is going to pan out because it was very fun ideas, but it was a lot to execute within the time frame. I forget what the time frame was. I think it was like 8 hours or something. Could be wrong. Correct me in the comments. But he was just like, okay. And then let's move over to the other team. Let me get my notes. The other team was Elsa, Isaac, and Tracy. And so a team of three, and Isaac, the planner, had the idea that while the piece was going to be all kooky and crazy, they had like a triangle head, a centipede body, and what was the bottom? The bottom was just like a generic little boots person, I think. While that was going to look all chaotic, he thought if the background is all the same, it would help make it cohesive, and they chose to do a same edging to make that also look cohesive. So plan to limit the factors of losing control of that, where the other team definitely struggled, particularly since Ditsy chose to crochet her piece, and everyone chose, I think, a different color background, more or less. So that was going to definitely be pieced where you'd see that they are indeed were worked by different people. Or the other one, you could conceive that one person did it all and then just matched up their pieces. So that was very smart on his part. But they did choose cream, which isn't the most fun color, but I think they chose it so the colors would stand out. And in the end result, I actually did like it. I thought it would look nice on a child's wall, and the elements and the fun colors actually did pop. So personally, I liked it. It could probably be more fun. For some reason, I was thinking they were going to go blue. When he said that, I was like, oh, blue background. But no, they chose cream, and Tom was kind of like, okay, that's a little simple. That's not, like evoking imaginative. So those were kind of the 2 points. The one team was going crazy with embellishments and colors and being more chaotic. The other team was being very planned, playing it a little safe, and doing less embellishments. And so I was kind of worried about that. Now, when it came to the final pieces, I did like the team of threes. Again, I said the color works for me. And then the elements they chose, well, let me go over the team of four to make this proper contrast. They had so much going on. They had a lot of interactive elements. Again, like that kids could touch, that they could play with. But because it was so muddled, I, other than the top thing, which was like a head peeking out of the water and then it turns into like a sea creature at the bottom, um, it became very convoluted, and I had to look carefully to see not only what the creature was, but also where were the interactive elements. So to me, it felt overly sensory rather than the sensory being productive and helpful and guiding the child to what to play with, what to touch next. It felt like you really had to pay attention and then find what you are supposed to touch, where you're supposed to unzip, things like that. So I commend them for being ambitious, but I didn't like it as much. And then the team of three, again, the background helped make it cohesive, and then it gave a very good direction that while they had fewer elements of interaction, like the centipede had a I-cord arms in each of the circles that you could pull. I thought that was good. The hair was fuzzy and sparkly, so you could touch it. I think that was good sensory. The shoes you could tie, and I think they were just, again, they tried to elevate a few points so that they were sensory but not as interactive. So while yes, there were fewer, and I think they could have added one or two extra in there, I think they made it very clear and it felt more inviting to engage with. I immediately wanted to start pulling on those little arms. I thought that was fun. And the shoe tying also, to help you practice your shoelace tying. I think that was excellent idea, and that was on the bottom, so for young kids, very good. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and the winner was fairly clearly the team of three, because kind of despite they didn't have as much wow, the other team's wow was just a little too convoluted. So um, we get to the, oh, let me think if I can remember what the like winning knitter is called. I can't. You know, I gave myself about 30 seconds off camera to think about it, and I don't want to look it up. Um, I'm losing light soon, so I need to wrap up my thoughts. So the one who won was Isaac, and I think he really deserved it this time. Give me a second. I needed that. Because he really stepped up, I think, this time. His planning was on point. His work itself was on point. I think he really showed himself to do well. And they did show at the beginning, like a little, um, you know, face on interview bit where he was like, initially when I came here, I just kind of wanted, to get here to this point or stay on. But he's like, now I have a new goal. I want to get all those sheep badges. And so he did. He got his own sheep badge, which was wonderful to see, and I think well deserved. I've been feeling Isaac has a lot of talent, and that's why I didn't want him to get cast off last week. Um, I felt like he has more to give us. Simon was in trouble. I can finally add this new yarn. Was in trouble because they felt he was kind of at his point where he didn't have much more to give, again, in crochet, whereas I think he did when it came to his knitting. He did very well, but that felt unfortunate. Um, that he, again, because of the framing, because they were like, he's getting punished for his crochet. In again, if they had rephrased it that this is about crochet and knit, and that you kind of are going to hope that your strongest um, skill uh, carries you through, and that this isn't about becoming the best knitter or framing the show as being knitting. At this point, that's really getting to me. Um, and like I said, I'm finding it at this point truly unfair and deceptive. So again, so he was being considered, and then of course Ditzy also for similar reasons, and then her execution was less um um her crochet, oh, I'm so sorry, I hit the camera. Her crochet part on her group project was noted that it gave a poor effect to the overall look. The cohesion was lost, and then again, her crayon was, I'd say, the poorest of the solo challenges. So it was no surprise that she was the one to go. And was, uh, I was okay with that result because I didn't want Simon to go because we've been, uh, oh no, I really want him to get a proper chance with his knitting. I'm hoping he can show that. And I'm looking forward to next week. I'm going ahead and segue into that because they are going to knit food and then knit textured cardigans. Maybe there'll be a little crochet that you could do there, I don't know. But it is supposed to be knit. So I really think that's the one to decide if Simon deserves to stay or not. So I did want to see him do that. Um, I guess the same could be said for Ditzy, but if I recall right, I should have checked my older videos or the older episodes. I think Ditzy did struggle some with the knitting. I forget. I don't know that she is overall kind of advanced maybe in either a department, and she did note that she felt out of her depth, particularly this week. And the little like when they said she was the one to be cast off, there was just like, I know. She kind of knew it was coming. She knew she didn't live up to it, and that she was feeling a little inferior in regards to this uh, game that she knew she didn't hold up. So that was heartbreaking. That was hard to see. It is getting harder to see each contestant go because you get more and more invested into them. Let me think if was holding off picking a um what person I would fully root for. I think a bit unsurprisingly, Holger I think has the best chance. I just wonder if he'll have like an off week that will end up getting him cast off. I feel like he is at this point the strongest. I think Gordon would have been strong if he had been kept in. I think he was always strong in his work. And then Elsa, I think is the other one. A personal one person I'm rooting for though, I think is Isaac, because I do like his fresh takes on it, and I think he is pretty skillful and adaptive. So I think he could be like a bit of not, I don't want to fully say underdog, but underdog to the former mentioned Holger and Elsa. I think they are just amazing and very well planned um, makers. Let me see. Okay, I need to go back. Okay. I feel like I might have made a mistake going back and forth here. I hope not. Anyways, that was the Game of Wool episode 4. So, you know, my overall thoughts, I enjoyed it. I have to say, I enjoyed the episode. The challenges were up my alley, were things I'm interested in, and then the executions were both fun and interesting to see the choices. It's just the crochet element, and what I feel is unfair use of the crochet. I understand if you wanted to use it, I think you should have reframed the show format a little to phrase it correctly and honestly. I don't think it's very honest, I guess I should say, to, again, the audience or the contestants. I don't think it was honest. And I think everyone's being thrown for a loop with it. But I understand if you wanted to incorporate it, that could have been done. So again, that is right now my biggest contention with it, and I think next week I'll calm down because it will be knitting, and I'm looking forward to seeing some full-on knitting. But I enjoyed the episode itself. Is just that element that is still really irking me. So I would love to hear your thoughts. I know some comments have been or engagement in general has gotten a little less. I wonder if people are falling off of the episodes. So if you are following along with the episodes, I do want to continue the dialogue of what we think about it, what we think who is going to win, what we think about the show in general, and kind of maybe give what you like and then what you don't like. Let's have a little balanced conversation instead of fully hating on it, whether justified or not, or fully just trying to be, um, I'm understanding is not the word I want. Trying to be accepting of at least we're getting this show, and it's not, again, it's not the worst thing in the world, I don't think. For knitting, I think it has done some good, but I think it will cause some damage to the community as far as misinformation goes. But I'm sure many shows have that when they are being showcased. I think like Indiana Jones, didn't do a great service to giving a good picture of what um, archaeology and that field is. I know that's not quite a comparable example, but you understand what I'm saying. Same with Great British Bake Off or any of the, if you have reality shows that are presenting, or like, goodness, medical shows, things like that. There's always, it's media and it's supposed to be so broad. It's just, let's have maybe a balanced conversation about it. I would love to engage on both of those points with you and see where everyone's coming from. So I will continue working on my free run cardigan. I know some of you asked about it. It's become to my attention that I can offer the grid for free on Ravelry, so I am going to do that once I finish this, and so I can present it and do a little launch for the grid. If you want to make your own, it will just be the grid as I have it worked up. If you want to rework it, you're welcome to, but maybe it'll give you a base to work off. If you're interested in that, let me know so I know that there definitely is interest for it. And then I will be making future anime inspired um, graphs as well. So I didn't think, oh, I can't make a pattern for that, but turns out I can share the grid, and I would love to see other people making their own free run inspired or anime inspired cardigans. So yeah, I shall sign off. I'm babbling way too much, and I think these videos keep getting longer and longer. So thank you for engaging with me if you have, and again, engage in the comments with the dialogue and your thoughts on the show, on my cardigan, or anything you'd like.